Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on Twitter. My name is Bryson Carver, and what a night that was last night. I said I went on Instagram Live right after the game was over, and I said something, I slept on it, and I still feel the same way. That was the greatest 4 hours straight of television that I've ever watched. Without a question. I mean, from the pregame pleasantries, Mickey Guyton did a great job with the national anthem, and Billie Jean King, the all-time legend, coming out for the coin toss. And obviously, you had all the other pregame pleasantries, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Finally, it is time for the Super Bowl!
Getting me hyped up, getting the world hyped up, certainly the two fan bases hyped up. You obviously had the crazy first half, which I'll get to, the halftime show, which I'll do an entire segment on. It was awesome. And then the second half was just unbelievable football. And, of course, the post-game, Rams winning the title and Cooper Kupp taking home the MVP. I'm going to get into the MVP discussion in just a second. But overall takeaway from Super Bowl 56, and what a game it was. I said the Rams would cover. I picked them to win 31-16. I was right on the team that won. I was dead wrong on the final score, and I was barely wrong on them not covering the spread. So if you bet Bengals +4, I believe that's right where the line was at kickoff, was Rams -4. So if you bet Bengals +4, you won yourself some money. So good for you. But for the Los Angeles Rams, it was funny because I talked about this a couple weeks ago after they beat San Francisco to get to this game. I said that for a team that is so loaded, a team that has brought in so many guys from so many different places, stars galore. I mean, heck, it is Los Angeles. I mean, that is kind of a star-driven town. It's funny. It was a pretty likable team, in my opinion. Think about all the guys. Eric Weddle. Eric Weddle was playing pickup basketball this football season. He hadn't played in an NFL game in 2 years. And the Rams said, we could kind of use you just for depth purposes. You're probably not going to play that much. Yeah, he was actually a huge contributor to the Rams championship run all postseason long. And he had a shoulder injury last night. And he said after the game on NFL Network, yep, I'm done. I'm re-retiring. That's it. You got Andrew Whitworth, right? No playoff wins in Cincinnati. Gave that organization his heart and soul for well over a decade. Is a great dude. Of course, he won the Walter Payton Man of the Year last week. You add to it, you've got guys like Jalen Ramsey, who was labeled a loudmouth in Jacksonville, and he's a bad teammate and this and that, and he's a champion, although he didn't have a great night last night, but nevertheless, he's going to get a Super Bowl ring. But you think about guys also like Odell. Not only was, or let me say Von Miller, then Odell. Von Miller was deemed washed in Denver. Washed. He was done. And he goes to the Rams, and he's their second best pass rusher, obviously, to Aaron Donald, all postseason long. He was outstanding all postseason long. He was great last night. Heck, some even argued that, hey, maybe Von Miller should have gotten some votes for Super Bowl MVP. I wouldn't go there, but he made a huge impact on that game last night. Not only was Odell Beckham Jr. deemed washed like Von Miller, they deemed him, people in Cleveland trying to convince us all that he was the problem for a certain quarterback over there that we will not spend too much time on today. And he goes to the Los Angeles Rams. He's huge for them in the postseason. And last night, before he unfortunately got hurt, and it's being reported that it's a torn ACL again for the second straight year, a torn ACL, left ACL against the same team that he did a year ago, the Cincinnati Bengals. So, prayers up to Odell Beckham Jr., and hopefully he can recover from that soon. And I think he should stay with the Rams, but we can discuss that another day. But you got Odell. And then finally, you have Matthew Stafford, a guy. And look, I acknowledged, because it was fairly obvious, I think, to all of us, that Detroit's a pretty dysfunctional organization. They don't know how to run a football operation whatsoever. They have one playoff win in the Super Bowl era, and that came under Barry Sanders, who, in my opinion, is the greatest running back of all time. But Matthew Stafford was in Detroit for 12 years, 0-3. Didn't complain, didn't say much. Put up some big numbers. He earned the name Stat Padford from myself. Heck, I even used it this season. Many others out there used that particular nickname for one Matthew Stafford. And he gets traded to the Los Angeles Rams for one reason. to take us somewhere that Jared Goff could not take us if you're the Los Angeles Rams, and that was to win a Super Bowl. You got to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, and how'd that turn out? Once you got into the big game against the New England Patriots, it was a disaster offensively for the Rams. For all the criticisms that I have had of Matthew Stafford, and later in the show, I'm going to discuss whether he's a Hall of Famer or not after this win. For all the criticisms I've had, and a lot of people have had of Matthew Stafford, that's now 3 straight games in the playoffs with a game-winning drive. They blew the 27-3 lead to Tampa. We're thinking, oh my goodness, Tom Brady's about to pull another Atlanta Falcons. And Matt Stafford said, no, Tom, not only are you not getting the ball back, I'm going to send your butt into retirement. I'm going to lead a game-winning drive with 2 completions to Cooper Kupp, and they kicked the game-winning field goal and moved on to the NFC Championship game, where against a team that had beaten them 6 straight times in the San Francisco 49ers, he led yet another game-winning drive, capped off by a game-winning field goal. 2 weeks later, last night, down 4, season on the line, all the pressure of the football world, heck of the world, it's the Super Bowl for crying out loud, on Matthew Stafford. And he, along with the Super Bowl MVP Cooper Kupp, led a game-winning drive, capped off by a, you guessed it, Stafford to Kupp connection for a touchdown to put the Rams on top. And of course, the Rams defense got the stop when it was all said and done. I'm hearing a lot of Bengals fans today complaining about the Logan Wilson holding call. Say, oh, the refs cost us the game, the refs. And y'all know this is one of my biggest pet peeves in sports, not just football, but in sports. When fans blame refs. Cincinnati, first of all, you shouldn't have been here to begin with. I've said that for a while. You don't have a Super Bowl roster. You don't have a Super Bowl team. You have a Super Bowl quarterback. Okay, Joe Burrow is spectacular, and I'm going to talk more about Joe later in the show. But everything that could have went Cincinnati's way went their way. Odell is cooking you guys in the first half. 2 catches for 52 yards. That's an average of 26 yards per catch. And it sucks. He goes down with an ACL tear. So you get that break. Shortly after, Matt Stafford throws a pick in the end zone, gives you guys the ball back. And the Rams were driving. Remember, the Rams were driving down the field to probably get more points, possibly go up 20 to 10. Stafford throws a pick in the end zone. You didn't do anything with that. To start the second half, okay, I don't even think this is hyperbole. This, to me, to start the second half, was the most blatant missed offensive pass interference I have ever seen. Okay, Bengals fans, y'all are complaining about, Logan Wilson and everything, and I'll get to that play later, but you should have been down double digits in this game because of this right here. Any day of the week, he grabs his face mask. T. Higgins is grabbing Jalen Ramsey's face mask. I'm not here to say Jalen Ramsey played a great football game yesterday because he didn't, but you got to be kidding me. He doesn't just grab it. He turns his whole head around. Jalen Ramsey getting up like, did you guys just see the same play that I just defended? Like, what is going on here? You have that. And then on the very next play for the Rams on their drive, Matthew Stafford, yet again, throws another pick. And we're thinking, oh my goodness, the Rams are about to really screw this up in the first minute of the second half. And then Aaron Donald happened. For the Bengals, you couldn't get any points after that. You got a break from the officials on the missed interference call on T. Higgins. On the very next play, you take the ball back away from the Rams. You got the ball right back in a position to go up 10 points. To go up 11 points. Nope, nothing. And so at the end of the day, this was not hard to see what was going to happen at all. Because when you look at the Los Angeles Rams, you look at their defensive line, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, all those Rough Riders in that Rams defensive line. And you look at, and I've been beating this drum for weeks. Heck, for a year or so. Maybe for 2 years now that I think about it. I was wrong on Joe Burrow because I thought he would be a bust out of the 2020 draft. But why did I think Joe Burrow would be a bust? He was going to a bad, poorly run franchise. He's overcome that. He was going to a cheap owner. We'll see if he can overcome that. And he was going to a team who had arguably the worst offensive line in football. Joe Burrow was sacked an NFL high 51 times in the regular season. In the postseason, he was sacked 19 times, including a 9-sack game against the Titans and a 7-sack game last night. That adds up to a grand total of 70 sacks that Joe Burrow has taken. And for the second straight year, Joe Burrow, look, listen, it's football. Everybody's hurt. But he's badly beaten up after that game. Because last season, heck, he didn't even get to limp off the field. He was carted off the field. Okay, he tore his ACL and MCL because his offensive line couldn't give him a second to throw the ball. And then last night, he gets twisted underneath on that one hit on third down. And you could see it in his face, man, through his face mask. He was in pain. I mean, you just winced when you saw that play. You're like, oh, man, Joe Burrow can't not finish the Super Bowl. This can't happen. If you don't let this become Andrew Luck 2.0, if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, don't screw this kid up. Okay, don't. You've got a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the world. Name the quarterback that could have pulled what Joe Burrow pulled this postseason. I mean, I can't believe people are crushing Joe after this game. I can't believe I'm the one defending him. But, people are crushing stats last night. I think he had like a 39. Was it a 39 QBR? 39 QBR. But he had a 101 passer rating. So QBR and passer rating don't always coincide for whatever reason. You can ask the analytics people that question. But Joe Burrow did all he could. Everything went the Bengals' way. The better team won. The quarterback with more time won. What did I say? If you follow me on social media, and if you don't, I greatly appreciate a follow on IG at Carving Up Podcast, Twitter at Carving Up Pod. On Instagram yesterday, when I kind of discussed my pick, in a reel, I said, here's why I'm picking, or one of the reasons I'm picking the Rams to beat the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow's better than Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford's proved himself to be one heck of a quarterback. But the problem is, I didn't think Joe Burrow was going to get the opportunity to prove he was better than Matthew Stafford, and that was evidenced. The sack battle, that is something, that I've been talking about all week. Rams 7 sacks, Bengals 2. There's your game right there. The weakness of the Cincinnati Bengals showed itself once again. They got bailed out against the Tennessee Titans because Ryan Tannehill played awful. But when you're playing Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, they're not going to screw it up like Ryan Tannehill did in that playoff game. So I'm hearing a lot of Joe Burrow will be back. Joe Burrow will be back. Joe will be back. I mean, I'm not real sure about the Bengals. I'm not sure if the Bengals will go along on the ride with him. You got to realize Cincinnati shouldn't even have won their division. They shouldn't even have had a home playoff game. Baltimore collapsed because Lamar Jackson went down. Now, Joe Burrow's better than Lamar Jackson, obviously, and I love Lamar. But if Lamar Jackson doesn't go down, the Bengals are a wild card team. Like, they probably don't even get here. And so, remember, Dan Marino is a great comparison, okay? Dan Marino, with the Miami Dolphins, made it to the Super Bowl in his second year, just like Joe Burrow. Listen, they lost to Washington, but this kid Marino, he is special. He's going to be back, and Marino was special, and to me, he's like the 5th or 6th greatest quarterback ever. He never went back to a Super Bowl. So for Joe Burrow, in a brutal division, in a conference loaded with great quarterbacks, he is among them. Are we sure we're going to see him back in Los Angeles? Or not necessarily Los Angeles, but just in the Super Bowl in general? I have my doubts. And it ain't because of the quarterback. Zach Taylor got really conservative in the second half of that game after the Bengals built the lead. Okay? The O-line's bad. Jamar Chase in the second half. Outside that one catch in the first half, Jamar Chase was a no-show. And so at the end of the day, the better team won. Okay, but let me go to that holding call that everybody's getting up in arms about. It's Logan Wilson. It's a 3rd and goal, 20-16. Bengals are on top with just about under 2 minutes left in the game. And Matthew Stafford throws a pass over the middle to Cooper Kupp. And everybody's mad. Oh, they haven't called that many penalties the whole game, which normally during Super Bowls, officials do let them play. That's kind of that's kind of what you do, right? You don't want the officials to be part of the story, certainly in a Super Bowl, much, just a playoff game Super Bowl. But Logan Wilson, folks, that was holding. Okay. I hate to tell you, my thing with officials is in the last 5 minutes of a game, especially a playoff game, especially in this case, the biggest game in sports, don't throw the yellow laundry out into the carpet unless it is blatantly obvious. It was blatantly obvious. Sorry for the podcast audience here, for the YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook audience. That's holding. If the officials see, because Logan Wilson's wearing an orange glove, the orange glove's there. When they see that orange glove grabbing the sort of the inside shoulder, the chest area of Cooper Kupp, the flag is going to come out. It's nothing against Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson played a heck of a game yesterday. He was excellent. By the way, that entire Bengals front seven was tremendous. By the way, something else that went the Bengals' way, and they deserve credit for this. The Rams couldn't run the ball to save their life. 1.9 yards per carry. 23 carries, 43 yards. They could not run the football whatsoever. The Bengals could. Joe Mixon was averaging almost 5 yards a carry. The better team won. I will reiterate. And Cincinnati, I'm talking about real Bengals fans, not these bandwagoners that came in the last 2 weeks. I'm talking about actual Bengals fans. Respect to y'all, okay, for enduring a lot of crap for the last 30 years. You got your quarterback, okay? That is obvious. I'm just not real sure if you have a Super Bowl team. Jamar Chase is spectacular. And y'all know I like Joe Mixon. Got a good front seven. But so do a lot of teams in your division. Baltimore does. Pittsburgh definitely does. And Cleveland does. And so today, I got to see how the offseason plays out. I got to see how free agency, the draft plays out. I'm leaning towards Cincinnati not making the playoffs next year. I'm dead serious. Because when you look at Super Bowl losers, oftentimes they come back and they're not quite the same. Think about Seattle. After Russell was picked off at the 1-yard line by Malcolm Butler, when the Seahawks didn't hand the ball to Marshawn and all that, Seahawks have yet to get back to the Super Bowl. Heck, they're pulling the Dallas Cowboys. They have yet to get back to an NFC Championship game. Think about the Carolina Panthers. They go 15-1. Cam's the MVP, and they lose to Denver in a Super Bowl, and they've been to the playoffs one time since then. Okay? Think about teams like the 49ers. They haven't quite been able to recapture that magic from 2019, have they? And so there's kind of this ongoing thing about teams that lose the Super Bowl. They're never really quite the same moving forward. And so I don't see why the Bengals would be any exception. Now, in the case of the Rams, you got Matthew Stafford, who's going to be back, of course. Cooper Kupp, who has got to be the most underpaid player in football at only $15 million. Well, he and Burrow, of course, but $15 million a year. Devontae Adams, who to me is second behind Cooper Kupp for the best receiver in football. If Devontae Adams is asking for $30 million, then Cooper Kupp should be paid right at that as well. He is out of this world good. But you got Sean McVay. There were rumors, Sean McVay going to retire. He totally shut those down last night. He said, no, I'm coming back. Okay, I'm coaching. I love coaching. Aaron Donald, Rodney Harrison, the great Rodney Harrison, great safety, said before the game that Aaron Donald told him, if we win this game, I'm seriously going to consider retirement. So you have that aspect of it. But just all in all for the Bengals and the Rams, unbelievable football game. Considering the last 6 games in the postseason prior to this, I guess I shouldn't have been that shocked that it was a close game. But I'll tell you what, man, the NFL is riding high right now because you had the quarterback duel of Mahomes and Allen, and the Niners upset the Packers, and the Bengals got to the Super Bowl, and the Rams ended up winning it. The NFL, safe to say, even with Tom Brady retiring, and my man Mike Guido said it last week, as great as Brady is, and he is the GOAT, it is going to be very different from when Michael Jordan retired in 98 from the Bulls, in that nobody really was ready to take the place of Michael Jordan and the Bulls in the 90s. right? The ratings just tanked. For the NFL, Tom Brady retires. You still got a lot of good young quarterbacks. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. It's in good hands. There's no question about it. And those three are going to be playing a lot of big games for the next decade. In the case of Burrow, I hope he even lasts that long if they can actually put some, guys to protect him up front. My man, Barry Grant Jr. is in the comments. Listen, he called it. And I got to give Barry some credit. He says, Stafford, he did what I envisioned. Stick it, Bryson. Listen, again, I will go back to a quote that Shaquille O'Neal used recently. I think when Shaq was talking about Steph Curry, like Shaq used to not like Steph Curry because he's like, oh, he's a little small and he's a cute baby face assassin and all that. But man, I just keep watching this kid and he's unbelievable. And Shaq said, I like being proven wrong, though. I'm the same. I like being proven wrong. I don't mind it. And I was dead wrong on Matthew Stafford. The guy has been rock solid. I mean, he pulled a Tom Brady. That is what he did. If Pat Mahomes did that, if Tom Brady did that, if Joe Burrow did that, oh my gosh, stop the presses. People would be flipping out. I don't think Matthew Stafford's getting enough credit for what he just pulled off. Yes, he has the loaded roster around him, and I get that. But he did have to go win 3 straight games on a game-winning drive, and he did that. He did that. He deserves immense amount of credit for that. And again, I'll get to Matthew Stafford later in the show, whether he's a Hall of Fame or whether he's not. But man, what a night. What a night for the Rams. And listen, for the city of Los Angeles, the city of angels, man, they are, you talk about the NFL is riding high. I think so is Los Angeles. I mean, they've got 3 championships, and let's say today's Valentine's Day. By the way, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. So today's Valentine's Day, so subtract 4 months. So last 16 months, LA's got 3 championships, okay? Because obviously the Dodgers and the Lakers won it in October of 2020. And then again, 16 months later, the Rams bring it home. So congrats to LA. Congrats to Sean McVay, Andrew Whitworth, who's likely going to retire, Eric Weddle, who is retiring, and Aaron Donald. Listen, if he retires, holy cow. But speaking of Aaron Donald, speaking of that whole Super Bowl MVP discussion, I wanted to get into that for just a second because there's a lot of debate going on. And even I tweeted, and you can even see on my Instagram because I live tweeted on Twitter, and then I would like copy and paste onto my stories. But I said, if the Rams win this game, Cooper Kupp's the MVP. But then I sat back and thought about it, and I'm like, okay, Cooper Kupp was phenomenal. By the way, I have no problem with him winning MVP. None. The guy was great. And I'll get into Cooper Kupp individually in just a second because, folks, he had the greatest season that any receiver's ever had in NFL history. But as for Aaron Donald, great as Cooper Kupp was, when did that football game turn around? As I brought up earlier, you got the missed pass interference on T. Higgins. He catches it. He goes 75 yards in the first play of the second half. Bengals on top. First play, Stafford throws a pick. And again, aren't we all thinking at that point, like, boy, the momentum has shifted, and this is going to be a different football game in about 5 minutes. This is going to be a 2-score game, and man, Joe Burrow is going to be feeling confident, good about himself, and how are the Rams going to dig themselves out of this hole? And Aaron Donald, and I don't want to hear, oh, it's a dirty hit. That was not a dirty hit. Joe Burrow was in bounds. Yes, he's going out of bounds, but it's not like he's sliding. If Joe Burrow's sliding, giving himself up, and Aaron Donald hits him, that's different. That's a 15-yard penalty. But Joe Burrow is still very much in bounds, running toward the sideline, and Aaron Donald shoves him out as hard as he can. I don't blame the Bengals offensive lineman for getting mad. You got to protect your quarterback. I get that. But in terms of getting your team going, Aaron Donald did that, and that man took the game over. He was the best player in that field last night. He was the best, and he's the most valuable. And see, I hope this isn't like, it doesn't sound like the Cooper Kupp hate show, because again, I'm going to give Cooper Kupp his flowers in a few minutes here, but the game, the whole vibe of the game just changed when Aaron Donald got going. Double team him, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He was getting pressure all the time on the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line rather, and on Joe Burrow in particular. But when he gets the pressure that he's getting, and you consider 2 sacks that really almost was 3 sacks because that last play on the 4th down where he's, trying to bring Burrow down and Burrow just, kind of throws it up the air because he's, hoping somebody, comes down with it. And I thought Joe Burrow was going to pull it off there for just a second. But nearly 3 sacks in the game for Aaron Donald. Double team, just getting pressure. If he's not getting to the quarterback, one of his buddies, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, they're getting to the quarterback. The entire vibe of that game changed when Aaron Donald got going. And there's not that many players that aren't quarterbacks that can do that. He's one of them. There's a reason people are arguing that he's the best player in football, and people have been arguing that for 3-4 years. But when you look at Aaron Donald's resume, to me, he is if you want to say third, that's fine. But he is the second greatest defensive player in the history of the National Football League. It used to be for me, LT, Lawrence Taylor, who I think is the third greatest football player ever, and then Reggie White, God rest his soul. I think Aaron Donald surpasses Reggie White. When you consider the double teams, and again, he's having to go get the quarterback inside. And when you consider, and listen, a lot, forget NFL players, forget football players. Like, this is a sports thing. How many athletes today strike fear in you? As a player, as a fan, what athletes out there do you go to bed the night before a game? You're like, oh, boy, I hope he doesn't get going, or hope she doesn't get going. Aaron Donald's one of those guys. You look at his resume, it is phenomenal. Okay. So he's a Super Bowl champion now. I think he should have been Super Bowl MVP. That's not, that's kind of my argument. But 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. He made the 2010s All-Decade team. He's a 7-time first-team All-Pro. He's made, since his second year in the league, from that point on to now, he has been a first-team All-Pro every single year. And every single season he's been in the NFL, he's been voted to the Pro Bowl. He won Rookie of the Year also. And in his career, playing defensive tackle, about as brutal a position as there is in sports, he's missed 2 games in 8 years, and neither were injury-related. So he's durable. He's tough. He's not necessarily brittle, which I don't know how brittle you can be playing that position. You're going to play beat up all the time. But it goes to his heart. You saw him after the game, man. That was emotional, man. You saw Odell too. He was crying, but that was putting your soul into something. That was putting everything you had into winning a Super Bowl, into becoming a champion. And it just felt like there's a satisfaction there. And he talked, Michelle Tafoya of NBC asked him, is this it? Are you going to, we heard the reports. Are you going to retire? And he said, listen, I'm just going to enjoy the moment. And that's exactly what he should do. Enjoy the moment, man. It's not every day you win a Super Bowl. Certainly not every day you take over a Super Bowl. But the vibe in that stadium, the way he was talking, it sure sounds like that he's at least considering it. And it's like with Tom Brady. If Tom had 1 foot out the door in terms of leaving football, then just go ahead and step out. I said this a year ago with Larry Fitzgerald when it was coming up. The great Jim Gray was asking Larry Fitzgerald, hey, are you willing to come back to Arizona on like a reduced deal? And he said, maybe I want to play football. I'm not quite sure. And I said in the show, like, look, you, especially football, just anything in life, but especially football, the game where you're moving other people against their will. If he's not all in, he just go and step away. Because A, you could get hurt. B, you won't be your best self. You won't be fully committed. It's the same thing with Tom. Tom stepped away. Fitz stepped away. I don't know if that's the mindset Aaron Donald's in right now. Again, Larry Fitzgerald's in his late 30s. Tom is 43. I'm sorry, 44. Is he 40? Yeah, 44. Sorry, I keep forgetting. It's ridiculous. But the point is, I think for Aaron Donald, he's certainly considering it. I don't think there's any question about that. So, wish him the absolute best in his decision making. If this is it, what a career! What a career! And so, shout out to Aaron Donald. And as for Cooper Kupp, because again, I didn't want this to come off as, oh, you're hating on Cooper Kupp. First of all, that's my twin. I don't know, man. Everybody's been telling me over the last week, oh, you look like Cooper Kupp. So I appreciate that. But Cooper Kupp just completed the greatest season of any player. I'm sorry, of any receiver in NFL history. Like, he really did. I heard Shannon Sharp say this morning, and it's just kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Jerry Rice is the only other receiver to win the Triple Crown, the receiving Triple Crown. For those of you that don't know, that's leading the NFL for a single season in yards, catches, and touchdowns. Okay, Jerry Rice, the only guy to get the Triple Crown, win a Super Bowl MVP, and win Offensive Player of the Year over the course of his career. Cooper Kupp did that in one season. Cooper Kupp did something that the greatest receiver ever, Jerry Rice, it took his whole career to accomplish that. Cooper Kupp did that in one season. If you add his postseason stats to his regular season stats, they're mind-blowing. Okay? 178 catches, 2,425 yards, 22 touchdowns. Look, I love Devontae Adams. Love him. If those numbers don't scream best receiver in football, I don't even know what to say. That is incredible. And again, it is different when everybody, especially when Odell goes down, because that's the Rams offense, just went stagnant after Odell Beckham Jr. went down. When everybody in the stadium knows who Matthew Stafford's going to, and it doesn't matter. You are separating from everybody. Now, again, some of that is, especially there in the red zone, they've got Eli Apple on him, which, the NFL world was just, giving Eli Apple the business on social media. You saw Mecole Hardman and Lamar Jackson. Everybody was trolling him because, listen, I've got a rule in the show. If you want to talk smack, you better back it up. And Eli Apple talks a lot of junk, and he was terrible last night. But that's neither here nor there. Cooper Kupp, when everybody in the stadium knows the ball's going to you, and you're still just as dominant, that's a great player. Like, there's no doubts about it. That's a great player. And so, and Sean McVay said this after the game, and he's been saying it all season long. It's kind of the Rams' motto in a way, is that, be your best, be at your best when your best is required. And I'll go back to another cliche. I don't think Sean McVay used this, but I'll use it. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. And that's what the Rams did. Matthew Stafford, who was driving me nuts, as somebody who picked the Rams, as somebody who has a struggling Super Bowl predicting record, I've now improved to 3-7. He was driving me nuts in that, from the end of the first half on until about midway through the fourth, right before that game-winning drive. Matthew Stafford was driving me nuts. But when Matt Stafford's best was required, he came through. That no-look pass to Kupp over the middle, where Kupp was tackled about inside the 25, that was one of the best throws all season long. Again, no look and just zoom. Just right out of his hands. It shows Matthew Stafford's rocket arm. He can sling it, man. Just bam. Like, the only other quarterback I can see doing that is Josh Allen. That was on a rope, man. That was perfect. And again, live watching it, I didn't know he no-looked it, but I saw on social media after the game, like, dang, one of the biggest throws of his life, he no-looked it. So that was unbelievable. But when Aaron Donald's best was required, he came through. Von Miller, same thing. Okay, the offensive line, same with them. Van Jefferson. By the way, congrats to Van Jefferson. Congrats to the Jefferson family. Van Jefferson had a heck of a, 2.5-hour span, because in the span of 2.5 hours, Van Jefferson won a Super Bowl and is now a father. His, I don't know if wife, girlfriend, fiance, I'm not sure. But she had I believe it's a baby girl. So, shout out to them. Thank goodness that the child was born healthy, and certainly we wish them all the best. And by the way, OBJ's fiance has a child on the way. So, a lot of new Rams coming in the world right now. So, exciting times there in Los Angeles. There's no question about it. But, wow. I mean, listen, I got no problem with Cooper Kupp winning it at all. The guy was just unguardable. I just thought the momentum of that game changed. The biggest plays of the game were made by Aaron Donald. Okay, that 4th and 1, by the way, if you look at an angle of that last 4th and 1 play where the Rams stopped the Bengals, Jamar Chase was wide open. I mean, he was going to waltz into the end zone for a Bengals touchdown. And again, Joe Burrow didn't have enough time. But what's my saying? Like, receivers are crucially important to becoming a great team. But as I said about Andrew Luck, I've said it about Deshaun Watson, and I've said it about Joe Burrow. If you don't have the time to get them the ball, if you're on your butt constantly, it doesn't matter how good they are. It doesn't matter if you have Jerry Rice back there. If you can't get him the ball, he's irrelevant. And Aaron Donald came through and stopped Joe Burrow, who, if he had like a second longer to throw, he's hitting Jamar Chase down the field and could be the game-winning touchdown. We could be having a very, very different conversation today. But that's got to be the mindset of the Bengals going into this offseason. Our weakness. There's one thing, our weakness ended our season. That's the case with everybody pretty much. Our biggest weakness cost us a championship. Everything went our way in the Super Bowl. But the weak link of our football team cost us. Again, I'll give Cincinnati's front seven credit. They played a heck of a game. Outstanding. I mean, Hubbard was everywhere defensively. Again, they were the number one reason that the Rams could not run the football. Cam Akers went nowhere. Michelle Henderson was more impactful in the passing game on those wheel routes. Stafford was delivering the ball to him beautifully on those wheel routes. He hit one on a 3rd down, the drive after he threw his second pick. But credit to the Bengals in stopping the 49ers run game. But I think at the end of the day, what you got to say is, look, this is the reality for Cincinnati. They have got to address their offensive line this offseason. Free agency, spend your money. Okay, you got a lot of cap space. I think someone said they had like the 3rd most cap space, which makes sense because their owner is the cheapest in the sport. You better spend that money to protect the guy who has the potential to be the greatest player in the history of your franchise. A guy who has the potential, if you give him an extra second to throw, could take you to go win a Super Bowl. That's what it comes down to. And John echoes exactly what I've said all show long. The better team won. And by the way, shouts to you, John. You were one of the few out there that had the sense to pick the Rams. Again, everything that could have went the Bengals' way went their way. So I don't want to hear anybody complaining about that holding call at the end. You got as bad of an offensive pass or missed offensive pass interference call I've ever seen. I've seen a lot less flagged for that. Again, I'll show the play again. It's as egregious as it gets. And if you want to complain about Logan Wilson, fine, but that's just obvious right there. Obvious. So that's my thing. Let me move on now. I'm going to say it. That was, without a question, without a shadow of a doubt, the greatest halftime show in Super Bowl history. Matter of fact, let's show the performers right now, and let's give them all a round of applause, because that was legendary. What Dr. Dre, Snoop, Kendrick, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and 50 Cent with kind of a cameo there, what they pulled off last night. Because, we talk about Super Bowl halftime shows, and what it comes down to is this. You can have good songs, you can have hits and this and that and the other. We get that. But can you entertain a crowd for 15 minutes? Compare this halftime show to the one 3 years ago. Nothing against, Adam Levine or anybody in Maroon 5. I don't hate their music. That was the worst halftime show I've ever seen 3 years ago. It got so bad. You got Travis Scott coming in there and Big Boy, and Adam Levine's having to take his shirt off to try and get the crowd going. It was a disaster. He pulled an Antonio Brown before Antonio Brown pulled an Antonio Brown. It was, it was a disaster. Okay, Timberlake the year before that, Coldplay 2 years before that. Like, you can have all the hits you want. Can you entertain a crowd? That's what it comes down to. And the only one, this surpasses Michael Jackson. Okay, because, I get it, the king, but, how long did he stand there? Listen, his halftime show was phenomenal back in the 90s, but how long did Michael Jackson stand there, motionless, looking to the side, with the, I don't know if he had the shades on or not, but just standing there motionless while the crowd's going insane 45 seconds? It's like, so he blew like a minute right there of his performance. The only one, to me, that rivals what we saw last night was Prince. I mean, that's a stuff of legend. Singing Purple Rain as it's a monsoon in Miami. That's as good as it gets. On I believe a purple stage, I believe it's a purple electric guitar stage that he was standing on. It was all the stage performers talked about. It was unbelievably slick. Like, Prince, to me, up until last night, had the greatest halftime performance. And I've watched it over and over. But last night, watching it live, again, they got a 15-minute time limit to do this. Once it was done, I'm like, oh wait, that's it? It's over? There's not more? I wanted more, and that was like that was 15 minutes. And I looked at my phone. I was like, golly, that was fast. I mean, you had everything. Well, you obviously got Dre coming out, and they're doing the next episode, which is certainly one of the better openings to a rap song ever. Then you had, obviously, they did California Love, which is one of my 5 favorite rap songs without a question. Shout out to Tupac, obviously. They wanted to do a tribute to him, and my man P-Star called that they were going to do some sort of tribute to Tupac. But they did California Love, and then Snoop and Dre pointed down, like what they pointed at. 50 Cent is hanging upside down, doing Into Club. So, he showed up with a cameo, and then I believe it was Mary J. Blige, then Kendrick Lamar. Mary J. Blige did an unbelievable job. Kendrick, We Gonna Be All Right. That's one of my 3 favorite songs of his. Then they go to Eminem doing Lose Yourself, and I'm getting chills because that's one of my favorite 5 favorite rap songs. And then they finish with not the next episode. Still Dre. I mean, it was phenomenal. Loved every second. I grin just thinking about it, because when you think about some of the greater halftime performances, when you think just in terms of the NFL and who they've invited to come to the halftime show, it's all been kind of the same genres. They'll bring a pop singer, maybe a country, maybe a group like I think Nickelback did it one year. And I've got nothing against those people. Nothing. Okay, there's a place for them too. But man, the fact it all just kind of came together, right? There's no one else that they could have picked to do a halftime show in Los Angeles, California, at that stadium, in that game, on that day, February 13th, 2-1-3, in the 2-1-3. Loved every second of it. And again, I'm trying to pull it up, try to find it on my phone. I thought I screenshotted this. If I can find, I think it was like the ages of the performance. Like, it really, what they did, I saw a tweet about this last night. They really, what they did is they brought out sort of the Avengers of 90s hip hop. Like, that's really what they did. And Snoop was great. Dre was just phenomenal. Kendrick's obviously not a 90s rapper, but he is an LA rapper. He did a great job in the time he was given. 50 Cent, obviously, of course, he came around 2003. That was when he first broke through. And you obviously had, Mary J. Blige. You had Eminem, who got started in the 90s with Dr. Dre. It was just, man, it was awesome. Masked Up Podcast says, who dat to you? Oh my gosh. Listen, I feel bad for actual Bengals fans. I really, really do, because I saw a video yesterday of a Bengals fan. I think he was like 86 years old, who's been rooting for the team his whole life. And they showed when they beat Kansas City, it sounded like it was his daughter recording it, and he was just crying his eyes out that they had gotten to the Super Bowl. Like, real diehard Bengals fans, I feel bad for, because listen, they've endured a lot over the last 30 plus years. They've never seen a Super Bowl title in the history of their franchise. And, to come so close is really heartbreaking. But for the Joe Burrow and the Joe Shiesty and this and that, like, I love Joe Burrow. It's his fans that drove me crazy. It's kind of like LeBron. Like, I love LeBron James. His fans drive me nuts. They're incredibly annoying. The same thing with the Joe Burrow fan club. Hopefully that'll pause for a moment. And Masked Up Podcast says what I said about 10 minutes ago. Eli Apple is trash. Yeah, he's bad. To think he was a first-round pick out of the Ohio State University, which is like DBU, D-line U, and he was in the same draft with Zeke and Bosa. Oh gosh, he was. I mean, I believe Michael Thomas was in that draft. Oh, it is. He was awful. I mean, there is a reason when your peers, it's one thing to have fans, but when your own peers are celebrating your demise on social media, that tells you how disliked you are. That tells you how bad you. I mean, he's probably the worst player in football to talk so much trash. Like, seriously. Even Patrick Beverly, who drives his peers crazy, who drives me as a fan crazy. I'm sure a lot of fans share that same sentiment. Even Pat Bev, occasionally he'll knock down a three or he'll block a shot. Talking about basketball now, but yeah, at least he'll do something occasionally. Like Eli Apple, rarely does anything productive. At least for his team. Usually he does things productive for the other team. Masked Up Podcast says Joe Burrow a stud. Like him, definitely going to be a top quarterback for years to come. He says, Michael Thomas coming back, as I told you, bro. Yeah, I think he'll be back. We got to see where his health's at. That whole situation with him and Sean Payton is really weird. Does he stay in New Orleans? Does he get traded? That's a domino that hasn't really been talked about. And I'll discuss more. I know there's a lot of news going on with Carson Wentz and Kyler Murray. I'll break that stuff down more on Thursday. I want to spend this entire show talking about the Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, just the halftime show, the magnitude of it, the hype around it. I mean, as the halftime show is starting, when they said, welcome to the Pepsi Super Bowl halftime show, I find myself getting nervous. I'm like, oh, I hope this lives up to expectations, because if it does, it's going to be amazing. It surpassed them. I mean, I did not think I would be coming out today. Like, if you told me before the show started that I'd be coming in on the show Monday and saying that it was the greatest halftime show ever, yeah, I wouldn't have believed you. Because to me, what makes a great halftime show is, and watching it live matters. Like, what's your reaction to it live? But when you don't want it to be over, when you're entertained I think if you look on YouTube, the video is like 14 minutes and 40 seconds long. Like, I was entertained for 14 minutes and, 50 seconds. I mean, it was phenomenal. Loved every second of it. For the NFL to finally embrace hip hop in that city, in that game, in that stadium, with those performers, hey, Commissioner Goodell, NFL front office, hats off to you, because that was legendary. They will talk about that show for years to come. That will be among the halftime shows, if not the top of the list, in terms of the standard for future Super Bowl halftime shows. Like, and it's not just because I'm a fan of these artists. I love The Weeknd's music. I thought he had a good halftime show last year. I really, really do. Like, I thought, especially considering the COVID protocols and this and that, and, not being able to do majority of the show on the field, and obviously not having that many fans around. Like, there was only so much he could do. So I, give him grace there. But it was a good show. Like, it was not Maroon 5. That's for sure. It was good. But this was mind blown, out of this world. Phenomenal. Adam, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Adam. Adam, Lana, please correct me if I'm screwing this up. He says, did you like the halftime show yesterday? He says, I'm watching from the UK. No, I really didn't like it. I loved it, to use a Simon Cowell phrase, because it was legendary, man. Legendary. I believe it's #1 trending on YouTube right now, and for very good reason. I heard someone say that, it's so disrespectful for the NFL to have the longest opening act of all time talking about the first half. But just the spectacle of the Super Bowl yesterday, man. I mean, the NFL had a really good day. The NFL had a really good day. National anthem was great. Okay. You've got, obviously, the game was phenomenal. The game was great. Well, this is our first great Super Bowl in a few years. The halftime show to me is the greatest I've ever seen. It's at SoFi Stadium. I mean, man, you want to talk about A-list celebrities that were there, which can we be surprised? It is Los Angeles. You got LeBron up there, Mark Wahlberg, Matt Damon, Ellen. Gosh, who else was there? See, I'm blanking now. I think it was Kevin Hart there. Kevin Hart might have been. Kanye was sitting next to Antonio Brown. No surprise there. Kanye was of course digging every last bit of the halftime show. Who else? I believe Steph and Draymond were there. Draymond was sitting with LeBron, obviously Clutch Sports clients. But oh my goodness. I genuinely feel sorry for whoever has to do it next year. I don't care what your name is, who you are, any Grammys you've won. I don't care. I feel sorry for you next year in Arizona at Super Bowl 57, having to top that. Whew. All right. Real quick before I move to my my last topic. Let's see. Got another comment? Yep. There you go. Adam Linus says LeBron James was singing along to 50 Cent in the club. You had Jay-Z, Beyonce, there you go, and Kanye West singing along to Still Dre. I mean, that was when as soon as I saw Dr. Dre get on the piano, I'm like, oh, he's going Still Dre. The da 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 da. I'm like, oh man, this is it. This is the pinnacle of hip hop and rap, certainly of that generation. Early 90s to early 2000s, like that's the pinnacle. Now, if you want to go from there, if you want to do a Super Bowl halftime show from like the mid 2000s to like, I don't know, 2016, 17, you could get you could bring Eminem back because he was still kind of in his prime around that time. You could get Drake, Lil Wayne, Drake's mentor. Who else you could get Kanye. I'm wondering how that would go, but you could get Kanye. Who else could you do? You could, maybe you could do Kid Cudi. Of course, then again, he and Kanye are not in great terms right now, but they could pull that off with sort of a new generation. But again, good luck. Good luck, with that halftime show. Adam Linus says, I don't watch the NFL. I don't know anything about it, but even I tuned in to watch the halftime show. Absolutely. And that's what the NFL does so well. It's got a different appeal to me as an 18-year-old white kid from Tennessee as it's got to other people, around the country, around the world. Adam says he's from the UK. And again, the Masked Up podcast says the best halftime show in years. And so just when you think about the spectacle of the Super Bowl, sometimes it doesn't always live up. I thought the commercials were fine. I'd say the worst part was probably commercials. Man, cryptocurrency was dominating the commercials. I thought they had a cool one with Peyton Manning and Walter Payton and Ray Lewis and Prime and all these great current and former players before the halftime show. That was probably my favorite commercial. I think there was like a Paralympics commercial that was really heartwarming, but I'm telling you, the NFL hyped this season up about, going into this season, they hyped this up as this is going to be the greatest season in NFL history. I don't dispute that. Not at all. Because obviously some of that was because, fans coming back to the games and having the energy in that regard. At the games, you had all this movement and Tom Brady and the Rams building the super team and the Cowboys were good again. And these rookie quarterbacks and Belichick made the playoffs again. I mean, just storylines galore. The Allen and Mahomes duel, the playoffs were the greatest I've seen. Now, the Super Bowl, I'm not going to go like ultra hyperbole and say the Super Bowl is the greatest I've seen. The greatest Super Bowl I've ever seen was the Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl, throwing the pass at the one. That was the best I've seen. But this was certainly not too far behind that. And props to the NFL. Adam Lennis says, Stan Kroenke owns a football, in parentheses, soccer team in the UK called Arsenal FC and doesn't invest hardly any money on them. Now I can see where he's been investing his money. It's on the Los Angeles Rams. A $6 billion, with a B, billion-dollar stadium, the best stadium in football, no question. Investing that money in Stafford, investing that money in Von Miller, Odell didn't, cost that much to bring in because he was a free agent. But you got Odell, you're paying Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. If you go all in, maybe the final result won't be just like the Rams, but you're giving yourself one heck of a shot. And that's what I respect about the Rams. You want to talk about caring? You want to talk about really genuinely going after a championship? They are the epitome of that. They went for it. Masked Up Podcast says Mike Thomas stays in New Orleans. I remember you said you would go elsewhere. But props to your channel. Keep grinding. You're a good podcaster. I love tuning in. Thank you, Masked Up Podcast. Appreciate that as well. And Mike Thomas, that's a. I think he's got a better chance of staying in New Orleans now that Sean Payton has left, because I think that was his main issue was he and Sean. It's a weird scenario. I'm not going to take any sides because I don't know who's at fault. Maybe both are. Maybe one. I don't know. But I think Mike Thomas will be on a different team. But who knows what happens. Before I move on to my last topic, just real quick, a little quick segue just for a couple minutes here from sports. Is that as an entertainment fan, as a movie fan, got some sad news last night. The director of one of my all-time favorite movies, Ghostbusters, a man by the name of Ivan Reitman, passed away yesterday at the age of 75 on February 12th. So I guess he passed on Saturday. When you look at some of the movies that this guy did, obviously the Ghostbusters franchise, kind of tops them all off. But you think about, I believe his last movie was Draft Day, which I have yet to watch with Kevin Costner. I'd love to see that movie. I've heard it's good. You had movies like Space Jam. He produced Space Jam. I believe there were movies before that. He collaborated a lot with Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, sort of the OG Saturday Night Live cast. So certainly a really tough loss. One thing I can take some solace in as a movie fan / Ghostbusters fan is he did get to see the newest addition to the franchise, the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie that came out this past November. His son, Jason Reitman, directed the movie. They brought the entire cast back. It was a heartwarming movie. I'm glad he got to see. I believe he actually worked on the movie too. He might have been a producer, so he very much had a hand in making that happen. But certainly some sad news, and thoughts and prayers go out to his family. And I'm sure, being that it's the franchise that it is, that they'll find some way to pay tribute to him. They did for Harold Ramis with this movie, one of the original Ghostbusters after he passed a few years ago. With this new movie was sort of a tribute to him. And, certainly you would anticipate that they'll do something similar for the director. So Ivan Reitman, may he rest in peace. And again, thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Got a few more comments here. Adam says, which performance did you like most? Dr. Dre plus Snoop, Mary J. Blige, 50 Cent, or Kendrick Lamar? Throw in Eminem in there as well. Those were the 6 performers. Dr. Dre probably follow. If I had to rank it, I would say Dr. Dre followed by Eminem, then Mary, Kendrick, Snoop. Actually, I'd probably put Snoop over Mary and Kendrick. So I go Dre, Eminem, Snoop, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, 50 Cent. That's probably where I'd rank it. But again, I thought all 6 performers were phenomenal yesterday. I thought they did a great job. But that's probably where I'd rank it in terms of my favorites. Again, the fact that they were able to get Dr. Dre out there was huge, because he's somewhat of a reclusive personality. But I think even he saw, like, man, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. This is my city. These are my guys and gals. Like, man, I can't miss this. And Massive Podcast says Rams went all out, and it showed. Absolutely. Now, last topic. When you look at Super Bowl 56 and all the craziness, there's a lot of discussion. Hey, can the Rams go back to back in 2022? And I think they are the favorites to win the NFC next year, because when you look at the NFC, it is about as clear of a path for the Rams to get back to this game next year as it's ever been. To me, their toughest competitions, forget winning the division. I'm talking about getting to the Super Bowl. I think their toughest competition is going to come within their division, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. Y'all know what I think about Trey Lance. I think that kid is going to be special. I've said I said before last year's draft, that guy's going to be the best quarterback of the 2020 draft. He just is. He is out of this world. He is going to be amazing. Kyle Shanahan, along with Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell, who was just a rookie, him in the backfield, Trent Williams, best left tackle in football, a great offensive line, a great defense, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. If Jimmy Garoppolo can get this team to 2 NFC championship games in 3 years, I think Trey Lance is going to win them some championships. The rest of the NFC, though, more I hear, I think Aaron Rodgers is coming back to Green Bay. But y'all know what's going to happen. They're going to win 12, 13, 14 games. They're going to win their division easily. And they're going to get bounced immediately in the playoffs because that's what they do. And that's because Aaron Rodgers is the James Harden of the NFL postseason. He underperforms massively. The Dallas Cowboys will certainly be a worthy adversary. You got Dak. You got the young lion, Micah Parsons. And that's about where it ends. That's about where it ends. Objectively, that's where it ends. Mike McCarthy, Lord knows if he'll even last the entire season. He's got a very short leash over there. Trayvon Diggs, I know Cowboys fans love him. I can tell you, as somebody who supports the Cowboys, again, I'm a Cowboys fan / supporter, whatever you want to call me, because of the quarterback. I wear a Dak hat every show pretty much. But Trayvon Diggs drives me crazy because just get him on a double move and you've got him. DeMarcus Lawrence is a better run stopper than he is a pass rusher. You got guys, Van Der Esch comes and goes. Who knows if he'll be a Cowboy next year? He's a free agent. Michael Gallup's probably going to be gone. I like Cedric Wilson. Don't love him. And Amari Cooper drives me crazy as well because he could have a game where he has 150 yards and he could have a game where he has 20 yards. It's Jekyll and Hyde with him. You don't know what you're getting. The offensive line is old and overpaid, and Ezekiel Elliott is washed. Not to mention that, again, Mike McCarthy is coming back and Kellen Moore is coming back. So Cowboys will win their division, just like the Packers. They'll win their division easily. Heck, Dallas might even win a playoff game, but there's only so far that my man Dak Prescott can carry them. That's what he's been doing for about 3-4 years now. But then the rest of the NFC, the only real wild card in terms of a contender that I can think of is Tampa. Unless if they get like Deshaun Watson, if they go all in for him, if I heard a report that they could maybe go after Russell Wilson. But if they get Jimmy Garoppolo, they'll make the playoffs. They'll win their division. They're not winning a Super Bowl. So really the only contenders to me out of the NFC is Rams, obviously, Niners, obviously, and then Packers, Cowboys. That's about it. And I would rank it Rams 1, Niners 1A to be honest. I'm sorry, 1B to be honest with you. Rams 1A, Niners 1B. And then you got the Packers, I'd say, and then the Cowboys. Rest of the NFC is just kind of AFC is where the action's at because that's where the star quarterbacks are. And so I think at the end of the day, when you look at just the NFC, it's as wide open as it could be for the Rams. Do I think they'll win a Super Bowl next year? No, because I think, listen, history has repeated itself now for 17 years, where the defending Super Bowl champion has not won the Super Bowl the following season. Last team to do that was the Patriots in 2003 and 2004. No team has done it since. So could the Rams be the first? Maybe, but they're going to lose some really important players. They're going to probably lose Andrew Whitworth to retirement. Odell Beckham Jr. is probably going to come back, but how healthy is he going to be? Aaron Donald might retire. I mean, you want to talk about a loss. Oh my gosh. That would be I can make an argument that the Rams losing Aaron Donald would be worse than the Packers losing Aaron Rodgers. Seriously. One guy takes games over. The other guy is, well, as someone once put it, immunized from the playoffs. But it'll be interesting. I think the NFC has 4 legit contenders right now. Maybe Arizona, but this whole Kyler Murray situation is weird. Seattle is not going anywhere. Russell's probably going to ask out of there. I don't particularly blame him. But then the rest of the NFC South is junk. Philadelphia is not doing anything. Maybe if Washington gets a quarterback, you'll have to, at least maybe slide them into that discussion, although I doubt it. But it's going to be interesting. NFL's a 12-month sport at this point. No question about it. You got free agency coming up in a month. Got the draft coming up in 2.5 months. And in between, there's probably going to be a lot of NBA on this show. But then again, who knows? We'll have some trades maybe between now and free agency. So can't wait. Can't wait. And so with that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by as always. Be sure to catch Carving It Up Live on Thursday, as always, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. If you've been listening to the Carving It Up podcast, we appreciate that as well. You've been listening on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Anchor, as well as wherever you listen to your podcasts. By the way, if you're on YouTube, be sure to click that big red subscribe button. Like, comment, share. It helps the channel grow exponentially. And so until Thursday, hope everybody has a great week. Stay safe out there. God bless you all. Peace out. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.